So, welcome back to the latest episode of the Window Pro podcast. And today we're going to talk about software for your business. Do we need it? What's the value of having a scheduling, a CRM program, something that's an all-in-one? Well, today we're going to talk to Susie Bishop, who works with Squeegee App. And as you know, I'm an ambassador for Squeegee App. I refer to it a lot in my podcasts. Today we're going to learn a lot more about it. So stay tuned and enjoy it, because it just may be that this will help you make a decision on whether technology is something you can use in your business. See you soon. Well, welcome everyone back to the Window Pro podcast. Today I'm talking to Susie Bishop, who's listen to this title, the Customer Success Manager, I love that, at Squeegee App. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, I love Squeegee App, so I want to talk to someone who can help us see why technology in business is so vital. Welcome, Susie, to the podcast. Thank you for giving up your time to do so. Now, I ask everyone this question: how did you get into or become associated with the window cleaning industry?
It's almost by accident, to be perfectly honest. My career was in teaching, in education, and I was a head teacher of a small rural primary school in Herefordshire, and it all became too much. I didn't have any work-life balance, and rather than sort of give up on the home, I gave up on the job. And Ed, my husband, was working with Mark and Jack at the time, and they just started Squeegee. It was just on its first few baby steps. We had a handful of beta testers, but not many actual customers at that point.
So how far back was that?
That was 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd left teaching in September, and Mark asked me if I wanted to help out a bit in the November. My first thought was, I don't know if I can work with my husband every day. So I didn't know if I'd be there for very long or not. And the rest is history. Like, I joined, absolutely loved it, believed in the product and the people straight away, and didn't look back. So that was the beginning of the journey.
So
Right then.
Mark has a history in window cleaning, doesn't he?
I think there's a small bit in there. I think that his brother had done a little bit of window cleaning in the past.
Yeah.
Mark hadn't previously at all, but there was some other sort of family and friend connections that were in the industry who'd sort of said, there's not much out here for us smaller guys at the moment. So I think it's fair in saying initially they thought they were just going to build a little app for scheduling, and they'd probably have it out the door and sell it and, move on to the next thing. And we're here in 2026 and it's still building, still going. So
Yeah. Why do you think it has developed? Has that been because of customer demand, or because someone's come up with a new idea and let's add that?
um, I think to start with, it definitely came from customers. So we had a great group of beta testers. They gave it the full once over. We had lots of feedback. And there was always the, when are you going to have this? When are you going to have that? What's next? What's next? And before long, rather than it just being about scheduling, it became about billing and payments. And then once you got billing and payments, it became about sort of different types of scheduling, messaging the customers, looking at different automations in there. And all of a sudden we had a backlog that was 2 or 3 years long worth of features. And the idea sort of came up that this isn't going to be a quick release to market and move on to the next thing. This is going to be a lasting piece of software that people are going to use in their business, and they're going to make it grow with that. So to start with, it was only for one user at a time. And then by the June 2018, that's when we first had our first proper launch, and you could have multiple users at that point.
Yes, I jumped on board in 2020.
Yeah.
So I've been loving it ever since. And some of my podcast guests have used it. So I talked to Natasha Williams up there in York. She just loves it with her six vans. She's got a little process on communicating with clients every day prior to their job. I talked to Tom Luter from CleanLink the other week. CleanLink, they do polls and installs. He loved Squeegee App. So there's a lot of users around the world that
Mhm.
are benefiting from it. So how big is your team now working on this product?
So we've just, as of last week, grown to 14, which doesn't sound huge, but when it was a couple of people to start with in a teeny tiny office, it's a big step for us. And the biggest thing in there that I want to shout out about is that we're now evens with female and male employees. We've got 7 on each. So hooray for the girls.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I was the only girl for a long time, so it's been a long time coming.
You've been fighting the fight, have you, Susie? Fighting the
Oh
fight.
no, not at all, not at all. I get on with them all great.
Yeah. Why do you think there'll be window cleaners around who listen to this and think, well, do I need something like that? If a solo entrepreneur in the window cleaning industry talk to you, why should someone like that think about having technology in their business when they're just a one-man show?
We actually get asked this a lot, and of course, all of the things that can be done in Squeegee can be done manually. People have lots of different systems and spreadsheets, different systems. They have their customers in like the Google Diary or something like that. And yeah, it can all be done manually. You can create your invoices manually. And when you're just starting out, it doesn't seem to take up that much time. But as you're growing, it takes up more and more of your time. And it kind of puts the brakes on how fast you can grow because of all the admin work that you've got to do.
Yeah.
So we say if you value your time as a commodity for your business, then getting some automations in there is a really good step. And there's no prizes for doing it all manually. Nobody rewards all of that hard work if you can press the button and get a system to do it for you. So why
Yeah.
not use it?
And it's reasonably priced. So I'm looking at your site now.
Mhm.
Um, £19 a month, or in Australian dollars, is about 36 Australian dollars a month for the basically the core platform, the first entry level, right up to the ultimate, which is £33 a month, 63 Australian dollars. That's one clean a month, and that pays
Yeah,
for your
that's
admin.
that's
And
what we kind of relate it to over here as well. Is it's the per user cost is generally about a clean's worth
yeah,
average across the UK. So I think I firmly believe, not think, it is worth it for businesses, and they'll see the value in it.
yes. So you talked about the history of it a little bit. What's
Mhm.
been the biggest challenge with getting the software user friendly well after you did the initial beta testing? How
Mhm.
do you continue to improve the product?
So, initial challenges were building up trust with enough people because everybody, if they've got a system already, they're invested in it, they like using it, and it's very familiar. So, changing to something new, there has to be a really good reason for them to
Yeah.
change to something new and to try it out and to build up that trust. And initially, we were the small guys, that it got mentioned on forums and they were like, oh no, that's just for one man bands, that's just for small guys, it's not really a real piece of software like these other ones. So it was building up that rapport with customers and other like-minded businesses who would perhaps help promote the product. So that was a challenge. Getting in the features that people wanted in some sort of timely fashion is always a challenge because we were a very small team to start with, and they worked around the clock, the developers, to get things in place. In any software development company, you get those lovely things called bugs. and that's always a challenge. Is we've always been very transparent and held up our hands and said, "Yep, there's a bug. It is a problem. We are fixing it." And I think that although it's a challenge, has always helped us because we have always been very vocal and said, "Yeah, there is a problem with this. We're working on it. We hope to have a release out by X date, which will solve the problem for you." And I think being honest and working hard has actually really helped us through those challenges. And you'd be surprised every time we have some kind of issue, we seem to get some 5-star reviews off the back of it. And it's more to do with how we deal with the people and how we talk to people and how we take on board what they're saying feedback wise and proactively resolve issues than the issues arising. And people appreciate that.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge.
And that's been my experience because it was during COVID that I first signed up for
Yeah.
Squeegee App, and there were some bugs through that time.
Yeah.
And I simply emailed the team,
Hmm.
and within 24 hours, I had an answer, Duncan. And if you do this, that'll fix the problem.
Hmm.
And so that's what I've appreciated about your team is the response straight away.
Yeah.
You put your hand up, said, "Yep, there is an issue. Thanks for letting us know. Let's work on it." Bang, fixed, and away we go. You don't have to sort of sit on it, stress about it, because
Hmm.
I appreciate the transparency. Now, okay, I'll fess up. I don't use every feature that's there. There are
Not
some
many people use
accounting.
absolutely everything, to be honest.
Why do you think it's of benefit for people to at least learn what the features are of Squeegee App and see what options they have?
Um, just recently, we've had a bit of a push on getting calls with one of the team, even if you're an established Squeegee user who's been using it for a couple of years. So myself and the other members of the support team have been really, really busy on calls, which has been great. But it's given us a bit more insight into some of the existing users and how they're using it. And seeing their jaws drop when they go, "Oh, I didn't realize it did all this. Oh, I could have been doing this for years. Oh my goodness, I've been doing this like this manual process all this time, or I've been using this other piece of software that I'm also paying for." So it's beneficial to speak to one of us and have a look through the full sort of package once you've got to grips with the initial part that you're using, so that you can see what other sort of time saving features you can adopt into your business. And yeah, like I said, not everybody uses all of them all of the time. It's kind of a add another bit over time
Yeah.
for most people.
Now, one of the things that I really have enjoyed in using Squeegee is this thing here that I'm going to put up on the screen for everyone to look at. And the fact is that you haven't just got a support team that answers questions, you've actually developed a Squeegee App Academy
Mhm.
so that people can go through lessons. And I discovered your lessons through Udemy platform before I realized you had them on the website. And just going through the videos that way, so that having that makes it so much simpler for people to learn at night, on the weekends when they can't get in touch, and they can actually then improve the software. I think that's one of the highlights. How long did it take you to develop that academy?
Quite a long time. We sort of had discussed it, and we had little videos, I think, initially, and then the app was pretty much redesigned, so they all had to be removed. Then we went through and used our support help desk system, and we had FAQs on there with screenshots and things. And then we decided to do a full sort of course. So I don't really remember. You might remember better. You were actually our first person who got all the way through the academy. I remember that.
That's true.
Um, yeah, we sent you a little certificate or something,
The
didn't we?
little
And a little
prize, yes,
little
yes.
prize, yeah, for being the first one who made it all the way through. We developed it so that we'd got to that point where we needed grow sufficiently that we didn't have enough time and resources on our staff to have that sort of one-to-one with everybody who was coming through. So we needed to sort of put it to videos and tutorials and things. Probably took about a month non-stop to get all of the recording done, to
Yeah.
get all of the editing done, and to get it up on Udemy and then the website. But now that our team has grown, we've got some other more junior members of staff that are doing an amazing job at building up the step-by-step instructions and the newer videos. And, we use more tools. So it used to be me sat in the boiler cupboard in our old office. So it was quiet and you couldn't hear the coffee machine pressing record. And if anybody came in, I'd have to stop, or if I made a mistake, I'd have to stop and restart it. Now we actually use a piece of software that does the voice aspect for us, even though it sounds like my voice. And, it's an awful lot smoother and easier to manage now. So we outsource as well to other pieces of software.
So basically, what we're saying when for people sign up for Squeegee App, we're saying outsource your
Mhm.
admin. So does Squeegee App outsource processes?
Yeah, we use lots of different pieces of software ourselves internally. So we have a help desk system called Freshdesk. So anybody who's put in a support ticket, that's where it ends up. So we use that. We use pieces of software for the development team and for planning to make sure that all of the features are being planned out properly and scoped out and sent over to the developers so that they can work on it without there having to be too much conversation, sort of interrupting their flow. Obviously, we have sort of processes and systems in place for all sorts of aspects of the business but we do use Squeegee ourselves as well. So we
Yeah.
use Squeegee for our like newsletters and um, for our like emails out to onboard new customers and things like that. But we use other pieces of software intertwined with that.
Yes, it's at the point where we have to think about it seriously in outsourcing. We don't cut our own hair. We go to a hairdresser, or a
Yeah.
barber. We get our car fixed somewhere else. We don't try and do it because we know we'll fail. So there's so many aspects to business which is important, and
Mhm.
the technology to run, organize, do the payment systems, invoicing, quoting. And recently, I've really ramped up my using the messaging within Squeegee
Yeah.
App rather than an external text message, just to remind people. And there's an advantage to that because you don't have to go finding the messages way down somewhere on your messaging,
Mm.
whether it's Google Messages or something else. It stays with the client. You can see the interaction that you've had, reminding them if they're not there, you can see Mrs. Jones, I did remind her. It's all collected together as Mrs. Jones' profile, and yeah, it's very helpful. I find it helpful myself when people say, "How long has it been since I booked you in for that big clean?" It's right there in the app. I can tell them what date it was. You can tell them how quickly they paid. You can remind them of how good a payer they are. There's so many aspects on having that there, and it does help communication. So, what would you say, Susie, is the biggest challenge for businesses using this type of technology?
I think quite often, I think I mentioned it earlier, when you've got an established business that has been used to a certain process or system or combination of both for a number of years, you sort of get really ingrained in this is my process, this
Yeah.
is how it goes. And I've heard the term busy fools a few times on
Say that
various
again. Busy.
podcasts. Busy fools. So it's where, from my understanding, it's where business owners are flat out busy. They work all of the hours on their business um, and in their business. And if they're not there as that working part, then the business isn't working. They're the main cog that's keeping it going. And the challenge is from our point of view, getting businesses to recognize that they need to be able to have processes and systems in place so that if they can take a step back, they can go on holiday and the business keeps going. It's a process rather than a person that's sort of running things along. And they can take a break. Somebody said to me yesterday, I don't know what to do. I've started doing all of these automated messages and I've got all this time. And I was like, well, that's the point, isn't it? And they were like, I feel like I've not got a job anymore. So yeah, it's getting people to realize that they don't need to be that busy to be successful. They can offload some of the busy tasks to the system to take care of, and they can take a bit of a more of a bird's eye view of the business and see where improvements can be made, and if they want to go ahead and try and grow, where the growth can happen.
Yeah, and that's important because sometimes we can get so entrenched in the business, almost entrapped in the business, that we can't see how we could scale. We can't see how the business could grow with us taking a step back. If everything's manual, how can you have someone do your work for you for a month while you go on vacation? But having the software, a business technology that a person is using as your subcontractor, as your employee, it takes a lot of pressure off. If someone was starting with the core level of Squeegee App, what would be the first parts of that that you'd encourage them to get going? Is it scheduling? Is it invoicing? Is it quoting? Or are you going to say all three?
Um, Generally, I would say to get started, they need to have a look. I'm going to mention none of those to start with. They need to have a look at the settings in the app to make sure that they understand how they want the app to work in certain scenarios. So, for example, people get hung up on this one. If you're in the UK, it's very normal to have window cleaning on a repeating schedule on, say, a 4 weekly and an 8 weekly round. And if you have that repeating job on a Monday every 4 weeks, but storm whatever blows in, wipes you out for a few days, so
Mhm.
you end up completing that job on the Thursday instead. How do you want that job to be handled in the future? Do you want it to snap back to the original date of 4 weeks from the original Monday? Or do you want it to move to the Thursday and go 4 weeks from that Thursday? So, understanding some of the automations in the system that you're putting in place before you've even got any customers on there, I think is important.
Mm.
And then I think the scheduling is the next big thing, is getting some dummy customers on there uh, with your own details, your own email, your own mobile number, playing around with the schedules, moving the job around, skipping the job, seeing what the different actions are, and messaging the client to see what they get as a customer of yours through Squeegee and what the
So
sort of
so
possibilities are.
kind of like what I've got here on, like I've
Yeah,
got
yeah,
my customer with where I am,
yeah.
and various settings that are there,
Hmm.
what the job is, and of course this wonderful thing where you can repeat the job. So I think that's what I did the first time is play with my own situation,
Yeah. Yeah, and
different
then you
job.
sort of see the messages that come up as an email and a text message and go, oh, actually, I don't like quite how that is viewed as a customer. Let's tweak that bit of text in there so that it's right for my business and it's got my sort of tone of voice in it. So I'd say that's where to start. And then once there's a number of real jobs in there, to start looking at those groupings of jobs. If you're a repeat business, so if you're going to an area more than once and it's a recurring customer, to look at how efficient you can be going to those different places, and that's
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
um,
So
people get
basically,
a handle of.
you've got a feature there where you could group the clients
Mhm.
according to the area.
Yeah.
So that basically we all use the term root or round in
Yeah.
window cleaning. I never used that word until I became a window cleaner.
Hmm.
You can then get everybody into that who's in that suburb, who's part of a repeat 4 weekly, 8 weekly cycle. Yeah, it is a beautiful part of the software because you
Yeah.
really can.
And it once you've got that kind of tightly organized, it makes each day where you're out on the tools much more efficient because you're going around jobs that are in one specific location. So your drive time is reduced and, you know, ultimately you're finishing your jobs earlier if you're in that
Yes.
one place rather than zipping across the town or the city here, there, and everywhere for all of the customers that you built up. Don't get me wrong, lots of people when they're starting, they have customers sort of quite spaced out, so it becomes a reorganization aspect once they've got their past their first um, like set of customers when they're just starting out. But once you've got a handful, you pretty much know the areas that you want to work in. So then you can see which areas you want to build in and that kind of thing as well. So I'd say that's probably the next step after that.
And the other advantage I find, Susie, with the group and giving a group assignment to each client. For example, I do some apartments in a retirement
Mm-hmm.
village. I don't think there's any males in this retirement village. They're all elderly ladies, but they're on different apartments. And I go once a year, but I can look and see what does that complex earn me for
Yeah.
a year. Or when I look at all the jobs that I go to once a month on the northern Gold Coast here in Queensland, I can see what it's turning over per month, per year, because it's all synced together. And you can then see where an area could be very productive to build that ground, make it bigger. You've got the stats there. You're not having to do all the calculations. It all does that for you.
Yeah.
So it's a very powerful tool um, to be able to group your clients and sort them into areas and label them in a way that you can then quickly identify all of those clients. And I love the fact that you can assign different colors. That's also very good.
Me
Yes.
too. That's one of my favorites. Getting the
So
map feeling.
with accounting, a question, of course, that I raised when I saw the team at the Cleaning Expo last year. In Australia, one of the biggest accounting softwares is Xero. Many use QuickBooks, MYOB, but many of us use Xero. And back then, a year ago, there wasn't any plans on syncing them together. Is there any developments to that end? And if not, is there a particular barrier to prevent that?
Yeah, we actually went quite a long way down the line creating an integration with Zero, but we stopped because there were some limitations on the volume of invoices that could be put through on the more basic packages. So for lots of our clients, definitely lots of our bin cleaning clients, for example, the sheer volume of work that they're getting through in a day would max them out on the number of invoices they could be putting through Zero
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
very, very, very quickly.
Mm.
So we sort of looked at that and said, right, that's not a good direction for us to be going in then to do a system that integrates so heavily with this piece of software when the bulk of our clients aren't going to be able to use it on Zero's most basic package. So they'd have to then get a higher package. So the team developed their own system. So we've got a system. It's currently called Balance. I think it's going to be moving into just a section called Finance. But we'll wait and see when the release comes out. And within that, we've got connection to HMRC over here in the UK and for VAT returns and for the new Making Tax Digital. Now, I know that that doesn't apply for our friends across the pond, which makes a few people very sad. And but all of the sort of reports and the accounts and the figures that it sort of spits out in the end, when it's done all the calculations, are able to then go into another piece of accounting software. So you can gather all of the information ready for submissions in different areas.
Yes. So in Australia, we have the GST return. If
Mhm.
if you're registered, like in the UK, you're
Yeah,
registered for VAT, depending on
yeah,
the level of turnover. Same here in Australia, the goods and services tax. So that's a separate accounting process that Zero, if those who use it have the features for, but it is an expensive piece of software. I think the
yeah,
basic is about 75, maybe 80 US Australian dollars per month, which is quite high. And I guess that's what the advantage is here for those watching and listening to the podcast is we're talking a scheduling app, we're talking an invoicing app, we're talking an accounting app, and it's all in the one software, and you're paying 19 up to 33 pounds a month, $63 Australian, and you've got everything.
yeah.
So
We keep trying to sort of strengthen it as well to be able to manage the things that any small business has to come across, so that they don't have to look to connect to too many other things. Um, but that being said, we're providing the data so that because various different accountants, for example, only work in a certain type of software, so we provide all of the data so that it can just be downloaded, exported from Squeegee, and then imported into whatever system you're using. So hopefully, we're sort of getting everything that people need to run their quarterly or end of year accounts, no matter what software they need to be using.
yeah, that's really lovely. Any big new releases up ahead?
Yes. We've got a release that's been a very long time coming, and now I'm saying it out loud. I'm being recorded. It'll have to happen. It should be happening tomorrow night,
So that
Wednesday night,
so that's
ready for Thursday
that's
morning.
March. We're recording this on March 10, so that's
Yeah.
March 11 or 12, one of those two
Yeah.
days.
Should be around then. And I said to Duncan before we started recording, I can't list all of the things that are in that release because we haven't had one since December. So the list is absolutely huge. But within that, there's improvements to the accounting system. There's all of the obligations for making tax digital. There's various improvements on scheduling. There's loads of features around canvassing. And there's some integrations with some new partners that have got some work in the background that will be released so that they can move further along the line as well.
I noticed
So
on
exciting this week.
social media, one of the bin clients,
Hmm.
I forget his name. He's fairly prolific on
The bin
Instagram.
guy, is it Jacob?
That's the bin guy.
Yeah.
He has you're working with him on an external software. I'm going to call it Viper, but it's not called Viper.
Ah, this isn't the bin guy. This is King's window cleaning.
That's who it is.
Yeah, yeah, we've just announced a partnership with Verpa, his system, yeah, and the Verpa stands for like virtual PA. So it's using AI to communicate with leads and provide all of the sort of follow-ups to quotes and do the prompts where, again, it's sort of taking the human aspect out of it. It's allowing businesses to grow more quickly than they would be able to if it was physical people answering the phone, dealing with the requests, because it can happen overnight or whatever. So, yeah, that's we're going to have our first couple of businesses with the partnership with Verpa running live within the next few days, which is very, very exciting.
Yes. So small beginnings, but it's
Yeah,
your team has created a monster.
yeah. Hopefully, the good kind, though.
It's a very happy one. Very happy
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So, what would you say, Susie, for someone who's still sitting on the fence after our discussion
I
about,
yeah, I'd say give it a go, get on the free trial, speak to one of us. We'll look at, we'll talk to you about your business and where you're at the moment, what your pain points are, and see if Squeegee is a fit to sort of improve things and keep things growing or lose some of the admin work for your business.
yeah,
We're really nice to talk to.
yes, you
Hopefully.
are. And what's lovely is across the top of the website is book a discovery call. That banner
Hmm.
sits across there,
Yep.
so people can organise that. And I think must be late last year, you and I got on a discovery call talking about the ultimate package. And so it's a really easy way for those who are thinking about it, just to spend some time with the people who are using it, who are developing it, and they can answer your questions on how it could work in your business. So for those who are just, I don't know, just go ahead and do it. It'll take an hour of your day and it might save you literally hours every week by doing that. And for those who are watching, I'll put this in the description of the podcast. But Susie's very kindly organised a discount code for those who are watching, and that'll be in the description that you can organise. Have a discount for the first 12 months. So we appreciate that you provided that, Susie. Hey, it's been such an interesting chat. Is there any last words that you'd like to share? I'd like to bring you back to that phrase you used with regard to your role as a
Oh,
customer
okay.
success manager. This is a really interesting thing with regard to your role, marketing. We're all trying to do marketing. Tell us that
Mhm.
line.
So, somebody in the business likened the marketing role to the team that capture the leads. They get them started, introduce them to Squeegee and get them started. And our role in customer success is keeping hold of them, making them stay with the product, give it a go, and not leave. So, in a nutshell, that's our two roles and how we work together. And
Yeah.
obviously, there's a load of development around that as well.
Yeah. So
But that's probably the biggest.
you want to nurture the interest that people may have in
Absolutely,
your
yeah.
product.
Yeah,
And
find out about their businesses and what their pain points are. And we're all problem solvers. So figuring out how to solve their problems and what we can do to try and relieve those pain points is what we all work on in the business.
so going back to the start, you were a principal of a school and now you're working in
Yeah.
this. What do you personally enjoy about your role, Susan?
I love speaking to people. I love speaking to different businesses, finding out their stories. I've been listening to lots of podcasts with window cleaners, bin cleaners, and listening to how they began and how they've grown their business, and what the pathway has looked like for them. And I enjoy helping people. I enjoy getting the satisfaction that the product that the team have made is out there and is doing good, is making people more successful and have a bit better home life, work life balance as well.
Yeah. So at the Cleaning Expo in a couple of weeks' time, people can obviously come up and talk to you. What will people get from chatting with the team at the expo?
Um, if we're talking about the expo as a whole, or just Squeegee at the stand, the
Just
expo as a whole
just
is.
squeegee, just squeegee
Oh,
out.
right, okay. Just with Squeegee, you get to meet the team. Definitely, somebody in the past said, "I didn't realize they were a real person. I thought they were a bot. They replied so quickly." So you get to see that we are actually flesh and blood, real people.
Yeah.
Um, you get to, come and talk to us about what's coming up, anything new. If you're a new business and you're interested, you get to have a demo and see, if it's a good fit for you. If you're an established user of Squeegee, you can see sort of what's next. You can question us on, oh, these little things are bugging me. Is there anything we can do to sort of try and improve this? for customers like us. So yeah, we're open to just chatting about you, your business, and making connections. So we love it because we get to meet lots of people that ordinarily are just a name on an email, and we get to put a face to the name, which is lovely.
Yeah, it was really great meeting the team
Yeah,
last year, and it has changed my relationship with using
yeah,
the app.
yeah,
So
definitely.
I
Yeah.
really enjoyed that. So thank you very much, Susie, for taking time out of your busy schedule to chat
No,
with us
thank
here
you,
at the
Duncan.
Window
It's
Pro
been a pleasure.
podcast. And enjoy the show and
Oh,
enjoy
we will.
all the releases in the next 24 hours. Say thanks to the team for staying out of the recording studio,
Oh, we will.
and we'll chat soon.
Speak to you soon, Duncan. Thank you.